Welcome to the God-Centered Business Challenge. My name is Molly. I have been in business for about 7.5, almost 8 years now. And I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a child of God. Those are the things that really matter. And God brought business into my life in a very unexpected way. And it's been such an adventurous journey. And I've loved every minute of the growth. It hasn't always been easy. It hasn't always been fun, but it's good to know that you're growing, right? Because the worst thing is to go through a challenging situation and not grow from it. And this is my amazing husband. Want to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. I'm Chad. I am the lesser better half here. So backup coordinator for what we're going to do here. And I'm very, very excited. This is a dream we've been dreaming up for the last probably 5 years that is finally happening. So very excited.
Yeah. He's being very humble. We are partners. Totally. This is definitely a partnership. And so that's actually the platform that I want to speak from is about partnering. And so when you're in business and you want to run a God-centered business, you're partnering with the very best business partner that you could ask for. And even though your husband or your spouse, your wife, whatever, your significant other might be amazing, they are not the best business partner that I'm talking about. The one I am talking about is the Holy Spirit. He is the very best business partner. And so I just want to welcome the Holy Spirit here to this challenge. And we just invite you in. We invite your presence into this place, so we can really dig out anything that is out of alignment in our lives and get into that space where we can be co-laboring with Him. So the desired outcome of this challenge, I want to help you to breathe life into your business again. Whether you are, a seasoned professional and you're here and you just want to find that joy again. Maybe you've kind of lost the joy. You've lost the spark in your business. You've been doing this for a while and, maybe you've forgotten why you started or you've lost the joy of it. We want to get that back. And maybe you're just beginning. And if you're just beginning, we want to get you off on the right foot and help you to start, with the right foundation. One of our taglines or whatever is deep roots. Our surname is Roots. And it's so important for us to be able to go deep because when you go deep, you can stand tall, you can resist the wind, you can resist the rain, the hurricanes, everything that comes at you, whatever storm comes, you can withstand that storm. So we want your roots to go down deep. And that's why we invite, a closer look at challenges, a closer look at the important things and not just going through the motions, of doing the activities. So this challenge is going to be different because I know that you are ambitious. If I'm not mistaken, you can just go ahead and drop a 1 if that describes you. And I also would venture to say you care about your faith and you care about your family. So if that's true of you, just type a 1 down in the comments. So these are important things. And when we are ambitious and we want to build on the right foundation, you want to make sure that you have the building blocks in order. You need all 4 corners of the house in place. Right? You can't just build a house with one corner in place. It's going to tip over. There's a reason even teepees have multiple angles going at them so they can support the structure. And so what we want to provide is that structure for you that you can build a business that's going to stand the test of time, that you really can have a legacy business because we are in this for the long game. Right. So if you are in this for the long game, drop long game down in the comments below. I want to hear you say it. I want to hear you say, I am in this. I am playing the long game.
A lot of reaction. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you. Just engage. That helps all of us. We want to be listening and pay attention. Just, eliminate distractions as much as you can right now. Although I know reality is sometimes your kids are banging down the door and sometimes the dog is barking. So that's okay too, but do the best you can to eliminate those distractions. You are going to be crystal clear at the end of this challenge. This is my claim, is that you will be crystal clear on what your priorities are, who you are responsible to, and what you should be doing next. That's what I want for you. I want clarity. I want your priorities to be in order, and I want you to have the confidence and security to know exactly what to do next. I'm here to support you. I'm here to provide. We are here to provide that security and that stability and support for you to build that business the right way, playing the long game. Yeah, Bevy's in it for the long game. That's awesome. I love hearing it. And so diving into this challenge, why am I here? So I've made a big transition in life. And I realize that a lot of people right now are making transition. I don't believe that I'm alone in this. If you have been through a transition, or maybe you are in one now, or you think one is coming, drop transition down in the comments, because many, many people are saying, I need to get in alignment with the right people, the right place. There's some things that just have to change in my life. They're out of order. It's chaotic, whatever it is. So if that's you, let me know down in the comments. We're here because, God said it's time to move. It's time to do something different. And I've felt it coming for a long time and really resisted for a long time. And if you can imagine, I don't know if you ever been to a circus. So I think I have been to one once. That was in South Africa. Anyway, circuses, it was kind of, I don't know, they're kind of weird, honestly. They're just kind of a weird thing. But you have this image, right, of a circus, of a trapeze artist, and they're hanging on to that one trapeze, and they're going to get to that next trapeze. But the problem is they have to let go of the one that they're on before they can grab onto the other. And so that is the tension of transition right there, is you really cannot hang on to both. You're going to get torn apart. So at some point, you're hanging on to the one, looking at the other, it swings and you have an opportunity to grab on and maybe you don't, so it comes back and another opportunity. And at some point you have to let go and grab onto the new and let go of the old. And that's one of our life verses in Philippians. And we'll get into that a little bit more in the challenge. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but, if you have been in that space of transition, you're not alone. So really how all of this started with running a God-centered business is when I first started out, I really had no clue what I was doing. I was a mom we had just had our sixth child, and I was, really trying to just climb out, keep my head out of the water, with life and all the responsibilities of life and homeschooling and ministry and missions and all the things that we were doing. And I started to get, into the activities of, I want to actually grow. I want to create something here. And our dream was to be able to support our mission with a business. And so, we're like, okay, well, how is this going to work? Like full of excitement, full of anticipation, and a lot of fear and trepidation, it's like, is this really going to be working? And so I spoke to a friend of mine who had been in network marketing, someone I respected, and really looked up to, and was, just trying to learn how to do it. Like I want to do this well. I want to show up well. And this person said, you really can't mix faith in your business. Business is business. Keep it that way. It'll be fine. You guys can do your thing on the side. And so I sat with that for a while, and I thought, okay, I want to listen. Like, I really want to, do this right. I don't want to make mistakes. And I sat with that, and I just realized, like, I can't do that. I can't separate, what I'm doing in business from my faith. It's got to be attached. Otherwise, this whole thing is pointless and it's not going to go anywhere. And I might as well quit now. And so I felt it. I said, I don't know if I'm making a mistake, but I'm just going to go with my gut here. And I'm going to be talking about God. I'm going to be talking about business in the same breath. And so that really became for me part of, my foundation with this is, we're not going to be living separated lives. We're not going to compartmentalize our faith from our business. It's one and the same. And it's actually, we're even going to go as far as to show you how your business is actually a church. And okay, so we'll get to that. I'm running ahead, but I want to talk a little bit about loyalty and faithfulness. And this is something that's come up quite a bit in the last few months. And just jump in if there's something.
Oh, I will. Absolutely.
You want to add. Yeah.
This is so good.
Yeah. Loyalty and faithfulness, because, they're similar words, right? There's a lot of overlapping themes. But as I was personally trying to navigate like decisions and feeling like, well, what are my commitments? Like, what am I loyal to? And I felt this deep sense of like, I consider myself a loyal person, right? But it was causing me problems because God was saying something. And I thought, well, God, if you're saying that and I'm going to be acting, making this decision, is that wrong? And he showed me that my loyalty was actually misplaced, that my loyalty and my allegiance should not be to a certain, necessarily like a certain country, right? We think of loyalty to a country, or we think of loyalty maybe to a brand or a company, loyalty to a cause. These different things, they're not bad. I mean, loyalty is a good trait, but our loyalty is not to those things. Our loyalty is to the kingdom of heaven. And our loyalty is to him and to what he is calling us to do, and to the relationships that he's put in our lives. And so as I was navigating this, I realized that, there's many things that, people put on us from the outside. There's many things that come upon us from outside sources, pressures, expectations of others, that lead us to believe that we, have to become and do things this certain way. And really, God might be saying to do something totally different that doesn't make sense to anyone, and that doesn't even seem logical or right. And you're just wondering, like, how could this ever work out? How could this ever be the right thing to do? And when I was reading this morning in Genesis, about Abram and Lot when they separated. And one of the things that they did is, they looked at the land, and Abram said, Lot, you can pick whatever you want, you go for it, buddy. And so he picked the best, like he picked the most beautiful, fertile land that, he could see, and he went with it. And Abram just let him make that choice. It seemed like he was really getting the better deal. But we know now he didn't choose the better deal, right? He chose a place that was ultimately going to be destroyed by God, Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abram ended up with this beautiful, huge piece of land. And so I know that many have experienced loss in the last couple of years, and maybe you're even going through a season that you feel like you've been through incredible loss. But I want to just propose that maybe God wants you to look through this season of loss, even as Abram might have felt like he really got shafted in that deal, to look at it with a new perspective, to look at it with a heavenly perspective, that it's not a season of loss, but God is bringing you into a new space where you can experience freedom, and you can experience, the bounty of his presence, of him adding to you and not subtracting, because that's the promise that is ours in Deuteronomy, that he will add to us and not subtract to us, that we'll be the head and not the tail. And I'm excited to see this happen. And maybe you've experienced some full circle moments. And what I mean by that is where you find yourself in situations where, you have this feeling like, I've been there before, I've been here before. So if that's been happening, let me know down in the comments, drop full circle in the comments if you have felt that before. And this has been happening in my life. And at first I was really kind of scared by it. I thought, I don't want to go back. I don't want to be in the same place that I was before. That means that I'm just walking in circles. And, but actually, God showed me that's not true. He's not bringing full circle moments so we can go and wander in the desert some more. He's bringing full circle moments so we can walk the length and breadth of our land that God's giving us. So we can see it from east to west and north to south. So we can have the entire perspective of his work in our lives. And so I just wanted to share that with you, because your loyalty, if it is to a certain cause, if it's to, a certain brand or a person or something, ask yourself, is this where my loyalty should be? Or is my allegiance to heaven? Is my loyalty lying in the right hands? And there's a difference between faithfulness and loyalty. And faithfulness is biblical. Loyalty is not. That's not something that, it's not a fruit of the Spirit. Faithfulness is so important to God that he put it as a fruit of the Holy Spirit. And faithfulness is something that we're faithful to beliefs, commitments, relationships. We're steadfast in devotion. You made a commitment when you got married to be faithful to your spouse. That's a commitment you made before the Lord in a covenant relationship. And so that's the kind of commitment you have to honor. You're bound by covenant to that person. So that's where your faithfulness should be. That's where your loyalty should be. When you were born again, you entered into a new covenant with Jesus, and, you were bought with his blood. That's where your faithfulness should lie. That's where your loyalty is in that covenant. And so when we're faithful, we're true to our word, right? We're true to promises, beliefs that we hold, convictions, commitments. And faithfulness requires sacrifice. So there's something to be said for that. We lay down our lives. Jesus laid down our lives for his life for us, and we can lay down our lives for our friends. And it's about relationships. So faithfulness, it's like gold, it's precious because it's rare. And being rare, it just increases in value. And so faithfulness is something that, I always wondered what Semper Fidelis means. Okay, maybe you know this, Semper Fidelis. It's the motto of the Marines.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. It's Latin. But anyway, I always wondered, that's a cool motto. I wonder what that means. So do you know? Let me ask you guys are so smart. I'm sure you probably all know this. I'm just late to the party, but the Marines have a reputation, right? And so the reason that they have this reputation is because of their motto. It means always faithful. And let that just sink in for a moment, because, this is something that is deeper than loyalty. It's deeper than allegiance. It's deeper than a commitment that you make. Faithfulness is, it's like a covenant relationship that you enter in with people. And there's a reason that Marines have the reputation that they do, that they have the reputation for being having such valor in conflict. I mean, it's known around the world. So, the decision, we just watched a movie the other night. What was that called? We Were Soldiers. Man, now those movies are just hard for me to watch, but they do show what that faithfulness looks like, what it looks like on the battlefield when you will do anything to go back for your comrade. And that's the kind of relationship that we are called to have. And whether it's in our business or in a, relationship in life, it doesn't matter. Those are the kind of relationships that we are to be faithful to. And they supersede whatever, organization you might be in. They supersede whatever event is happening. They supersede political stuff. We are faithful to people because relationships are something that we can take with us into the kingdom of God. Faithfulness is that important. And it's not just in the military. It has the same huge positive effect in our relationships when we are faithful. So
talk more about you mentioned earlier, you said that faithfulness involves a lot of sacrifice, right? So talk more about where sacrifice comes into being faithful, and what does it mean being faithful and being sacrificial in serving somebody or serving a cause or a company or whatever. What do you think of when you talk about sacrifice? Because I think a lot of people, I don't know about you guys, but many of us don't associate faithfulness with sacrifice, So do you mind unwrapping that a little bit and just sharing more kind of what your thoughts on that is?
No, that's a good question. I think we should talk about that more. To me, it means, that you're willing to sacrifice selfish gain, whatever you might gain from something. If it's a decision, if it's, maybe keeping a commitment that no longer really serves you. And you think, well, I really would be better off, maybe not being true to my word, but you're willing to keep that commitment, even if it costs you something. And so I think it's rising above that temptation that we all have to, to just kind of put ourselves first or advance our own cause, and rather saying, I'm going to be faithful and I'm going to sacrifice, my own wants, my own needs, my own desires to serve someone else. Mm-hmm. And trusting that when you do that, God is going to honor you. He is going to honor that commitment, and he is going to bring about the blessing of his presence in your life. He's going to bring about that prosperity in your business or whatever in his timing, in his way. And he's going to add no trouble to it. And so that's the thing with wealth building is we want to build wealth. Wealth is a good thing. You can do so much good in this world when you have resources, but we don't want to add trouble to it. And God promises that when we do it in his way, laying on his principles, he is not going to add trouble to it. We're going to be blessed. We're going to be able to be generous, be radically generous with our giving when we adhere to his promises. So that's what I think of when it comes to, sacrifice and really putting that other person first and laying down our life. I mean, that's a tough one. I think many of us could say maybe we could lay down our life for our own kids, maybe for our spouse, but what about for our friends? And that's actually what we're called to do.
I think it's just worth mentioning, like what Molly is saying, when it comes to most of our businesses that we are running is people oriented, right? Without people being in our business, we will have no business. So part of the thing is that we have to really be faithful in pursuing, and we're going to talk more about this later, just so stick around, is being more faithful to the cause, being faithful to your vision and your passion and your purpose, so that people you see or people you build relationship with, that you don't see them as a number or as a dollar sign. But because that and a lot of you might say, no, I don't really do that. Well, you don't really do that until that person no longer are serving your purpose. Then you'll just disregard them. And we're like, whoa, I thought they were important, So I think it's so good to just come back and say, you know what, let's talk about faithfulness. I think number one thing of a Christian leader, number one responsibility of Christian leaders, to develop people. That is our number one purpose and goal. We need to develop people. Mm-hmm. Jesus said it another way in the Great Commission. He says we should all make disciples. It's all the same thing. We need to develop, disciple, and train people. They're the most valuable asset we have. And if you have that attitude, and if you have that reflect in your leadership, this is a leadership course, right? If that reflects in your leadership and you are faithful to your people and say, you know what, you had a tough month, that's okay, but let me stick with you. Let me talk with you. Let me be faithful to you, who you are as a person, and help you grow and help you get established. That is seeds that you are planting that will reap a harvest far beyond what you can imagine. But like what Molly said, that faithfulness is so key in what we need to do.
Yeah, that's so good. So let me ask a question. What do you want to get out of this challenge? You've heard us talk a little bit about what it means to have a God-centered business. What do you personally hope to gain from this challenge? I'd love for you to just drop that in the comments below. I want to hear it. And also, I want to ask, will you commit to showing up every day? So this is a 3-day challenge. I would love to be able to deliver the full impact of it. And so if you're here today and you don't jump in tomorrow and you don't jump in Wednesday, you're only going to get a little bit of it. And I really want to just bring the whole thing. And I want to serve you. I want you to get the most out of this course as possible. And then thirdly, who is one person that you are committed to inviting to this challenge? Now, I don't want you to go and add your whole team to this group. I really don't. I know that sounds crazy. You might be thinking, what is she thinking? Like, isn't more always better? Well, the answer is no. Like, more is not always better. And we're going to be talking about that, why more money isn't even always the answer. Right. And so more numbers aren't always the answer. I want you to ask God for one person that you feel led to invite to this challenge. And the replays are going to be there. They can catch up on day one. But think about that. Who's someone that would really benefit from this? And I wanted to just segue a little bit into talking about something that is super easy to fall into as an entrepreneur. So how many years have you been building your business? Let me know. And I would also like to know if you have been building your business, maybe you're in network marketing, maybe you're in real estate, maybe you are another type of a coach, it doesn't matter. How long have you been building your business? Number one, and have you ever hit burnout? That's number two. So if you have struggled with burnout, how many times, I don't know, once you really go through it, I think most of us don't want to ever do it again. So it's like, if you've hit it more than once, then I think you might need some one-on-one sessions. So you can talk to me in the DMs about that, because we want to help you to be able to do this sustainably and to be a healthy person. Because when you go through burnout, we are under so much stress and pressure. It's no secret. Yesterday we heard a message about this at church about how, we need to honor the Sabbath. And if you're not taking a Sabbath rest, well, it's essentially what it amounts to is someone who's skipping leg day. So if you work out, you know what leg day is, that maybe once a week, whatever, here it comes. And a lot of us try to avoid it, right? Because it's hard. And maybe you want to rather build the muscles that are more fun to more fun to lift. But when you see someone that has periodically been skipping leg day, you can tell, especially guys, I don't know, it's kind of funny, they'll be like super like ripped up here and bulky in in their shoulders and just look like a V,
like
and
Billy legs.
And when you get down to the bottom half, it's just these little sticks, and you can just see, okay, they didn't put in the heavy lifting, where it matters. And so you're equally proportioned. And it's like, you kind of feel like you could just like go like that and like tip that person over, and they're just going to blow over because they don't have that foundation. And so having a proper rest in place is what gives you that solid foundation. And so when we're talking about things like burnout, you have to make sure that you're incorporating a healthy rhythm into your life, that you can do this sustainably, because there's something, there's this whole hustle and grind culture and like, team no sleep, and you just, work 24 hours a day. Well, how long can you really do that? There's a reason that many entrepreneurs have very poor health. And I think it's because of the amount of stress and pressure that they go under without getting into a rhythm of having a proper rest. And so we want to talk about burnout and boundaries. And yes, no burnout yet. Sonia says our family uses Sundays to recharge. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad you do that, and definitely keep up with that practice. That's so, so important. And it's something that you only see through time. It's like we don't necessarily feel the effects of stress tomorrow. Like if you have a difficult week at work, or, with some kind of situation that's going on in your life, you're not necessarily going to feel the impact of that the next day. But if that keeps up, you're going to see the impact in a couple of months. You're going to see it with your fatigue. You're going to see it with maybe with your weight. You're going to see it with relationships that are falling apart, with other things in your life that are just like the wheels are coming off the bus. And so we don't want that to happen. My goal is to support you to achieve like maximum success. I want you to hit 6 figures, 7 figures, financial freedom, but I do not want you to do that at the expense of your relationships, at the expense of your health, and with things God has called you to do. So we are going to get there, but we're going to do it sustainably. We're going to do it with grace, over the grind, and incorporating habits like having a healthy rest.
I think it's so important what you just said, burnout doesn't happen all of a sudden at the stroke of 11:58. The burnout doesn't happen instantly. It's a slow progression that comes up. Little things start to go wrong, or little things start to fall apart. And that grows and builds and builds and builds until finally this one thing happens that just snaps. And then you're in burnout, and it's not something that just happens overnight, just like, weight gain, you're not going to go out tonight, eat a pizza, and tomorrow you weigh 30 pounds, right? It's a slow accumulation over months or over weeks until you finally get on the scale and you go, oh my gosh, I should probably stop eating entire pizzas for dinner. But it's a progression, right? So burnout is the same thing. It starts small, and it just kind of starts eating. And all of a sudden you start realizing, man, I'm not getting sleep. I'm not getting rest. I'm feeling tired. I'm getting a lot of colds. I'm letting little things that started to come up until one day it snaps and you're like, oh, this has been going on for months.
Yeah, it's very real. And I think burnout also is evidence that we have some things out of alignment in our lives. So that's really the foundation of this course, is talking about, having things in the right order and having that godly order in place. And so I've realized when I was kind of, going through my notes and talking about this, that burnout actually comes back to relationships, which is what we talked about in the beginning, of sacrifice, of being faithful to our relationships. Because I think when we start to enter into burnout, it happens when we stop being aware of whom we're serving. And somehow we're serving something else, something outside of ourselves, something that we, has maybe been imposed upon us. I had this picture of just like, almost like a paper bag, over our head. And it's like, okay, this is who we have to be. This is who we're going to serve. And it's when the mission or the job or the work becomes the God. And so that's a complete reversal of the way we should be doing things. And God's whole pursuit of us is relational. in the very beginning in the garden, like he wanted relationship with Adam and Eve. And ever since then, he's been pursuing us. He's been pursuing relationship with us. And so when we're serving him out of that platform of relationship, there's no burnout. There's no like getting dried up and, just falling apart. The wheels don't come off the bus because we're walking hand in hand with our lover. Like we're walking with our Savior and we're listening to him and we're serving out of that relationship of love and we're serving other people out of a relationship of love. And so, when you start struggling with that burnout, you're serving something else. You're serving people maybe outside who he has called you to serve. Possibly you're trying to conform to pressure of who you need to be. And, C.S. Lewis said a quote, it's one of my favorite ones. He said, comparison is the thief of joy. And so I feel like it's really true that when we start comparing ourselves to someone else who's maybe in a different chapter in their story, our joy disappears and we feel like, oh, well, we are not there yet. We're not good enough. But God has us on his own unique pathway. So he's leading us. He's our guide. He's guiding us up the trail. He's showing us which way to go. And we're on journey with him. So we're not on journey with the other person. We're on journey with him. And so, if you are struggling or you maybe have been through it before, burnout, or you want to prevent it from happening in the future, you want to stay connected relationally to him. And then everything that you do will flow from that. It's going to outflow from that relational standpoint. And so having godly order in our lives helps us to resist the pressure. And so what I mean by that is, godly order is simply putting God first and then putting our family second. And then your business or your ministry comes third. And the temptation is for so many of us to put our business and our ministry before our family. It's so easy to do that. And I've even heard people say it's the right thing to do, that we should be laying down like our family and our kids for the sake of fill in the blank. You could even say for the sake of the gospel. I've seen preachers do this, and that's not right. God has called us to be committed and faithful in our relationships first and to invest in those people around us because those are the ones that we answer to at the end. And so this course, we're going to be teaching you how to do that through this challenge, giving some real important things on how to get in alignment with your priorities and how to unhook from the expectations of others, because it's real. When you're hearing it 24/7, that you need to do this and be there and show up for everything, and all of your time is just eaten away. It's really takes some intentionality to resist that. So there's a principle in the Bible that says he must increase and I must decrease. And so we want you to become the kind of person who can carry tremendous influence and responsibility. And the way to do that is so upside down because we think, oh, well, I need to then be more and do more and show up better. And well, those things might have some truth to them, but really what leaders do is they help more people become more successful. They serve more people. They're more involved in other people's lives and ministries and businesses. And really, they're just doing things for other people all the time. And so it's totally upside down. And it's actually taking the spotlight off of yourself and putting it on other people and helping others to succeed instead of thinking about, oh, how can I meet my goals this month? Like, how can I meet my sales goals? How can I make my commission? How can I do this and do that and rank up? Well, the focus is on the wrong thing, as we need to be focused on other people and get rid of that spotlight syndrome that's so good for our ego. We love it. It's like, oh, it just feels good to be in the spotlight. No, it feels good to like achieve these things. It's like a nice stroke on the back. Like you did a good job. And, yes, we need affirmation. We want to be recognized. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's our job, is to recognize others. And so, leaders serve and they know when to step aside. And they know when to let someone else have the spotlight. And that's not easy to do. I promise that's really difficult. And I think that is one of the biggest barriers to actually achieving the next rank or to achieving the next financial goal, is we don't know when to step back and let someone else start to shine.
That's really good. I was just thinking about Molly was saying that. I think that the number one example that I can think of in the Bible is Barnabas, right?
Yeah.
We hear when we read in Acts, when Paul comes to know the Lord, the church kind of brought Barnabas in and says, hey, Barnabas, why don't you come and mentor Paul? Come walk alongside him. And everywhere you read in the beginning, it's Barnabas and Paul and Barnabas and Paul and Barnabas and Paul did this and Barnabas and Paul did that. Until one point where Paul stood up and gave a message and started proclaiming the kingdom of God. And all of a sudden, from that point on, you start reading Paul and Barnabas. Now, some of you are like, that is very significant because all of a sudden Barnabas realized, wait a minute, Paul has now exceeded what I can give him. And he let Paul step up to the front and take the lead. And he stepped back. Barnabas didn't complain. He didn't whine. He didn't do nothing. He stood in that position and he's like, you know what? I'm going to encourage Paul now. He is now the front runner. I'm going to be behind him now. I'm going to encourage him. I'm going to tell him, how can I help you? How can I motivate you? And all of a sudden, Barnabas went from a mentor to an encourager. And then later we read, Paul had a fallout with another disciple, and the disciple ran away. And then Barnabas left Paul, and he went and he hooked up with this guy. And we read later on that when the time came to restore their relationship, that Paul himself said, no, this guy has now have great value to me. And the reason for that is, again, Barnabas. He's the guy that, again, came alongside, trained a disciple, and helped somebody to really rise up to their potential, to what God wants them to do. And Barnabas never took the credit for it. But you see all these people, Barnabas started raising up in the faith. I think it's an incredible principle.
Wow. That's powerful. It really is. And I think that's really our job as leaders, as Christian leaders, as entrepreneurs, as business builders, is we want to be looking for the next leader. We want to be looking for the next person. So who is God putting in your life right now that you can see who they are going to become? You can see it in them. And I think that's a gift we can ask for, is that discernment, and ask God to show you, like, who is the next person that's in my life right now that you want me to pour into. And there's certain qualities that you want to look for. You can kind of give tests or assignments to find that right person and just see, like, are they hungry? Like, do they want it? Are they coachable? There's certain things that a person has to have in place to have that leadership potential. And our job is to call it out of them. And even before we start calling it out of them, we want to see it in them. And so it's almost like I had a dream the other night that we were actually looking for gold, and we were on this like treasure hunt. And when you're like searching for gold, it doesn't just show up like in a little jewelry box, it's like it's in a raw state, and you have to be able to dig it out. You have to mine it. Mm-hmm. And so that requires some work. And, there's some, clay or dirt or impacted material around those gold nuggets sometimes, and you have to dig it out. Or maybe, once I went gold panning in Alaska, and we were in this creek, it was freezing cold, and it was just rocks and sand everywhere. And so we were sitting there like sifting just buckets and buckets of sand, looking for little gold nuggets. And I tell you, it was like 99.9% dirt. It was just mostly dirt. And so after a while, it was like, okay, I'm like completely numb. I can't feel my hands, my arms, my feet are cold. And then you see this little gold speck. And that just makes it all worth it, So just grabbing a hold of that little gold nugget, and you're going to have to just leave the rest. But then you have that one piece that is going to become more valuable over time. And it's precious, and there's treasure to it. And so our job, like, we get to go on a treasure hunt and find those people that God is just spotlighting and saying, this is the one I want you to pour yourself into. And yes, you are going to benefit from it. You are going to be blessed. Absolutely. It's like you get to be that conduit, that hose pipe, and be the vessel that the water goes through, and you're going to get wet too. There's going to be massive blessing, and you are going to be blessed. But it's because you are blessed to be a blessing, right? That's the Abrahamic covenant. And that's what we need to remember when we're in business, is we're not doing this just to hit a rank, you guys. We're not doing this just to see the numbers change in our back office. We're not doing this, just to have that outside praise from other people. We're doing this because it's a mandate. God has given us the ability to create wealth. And so we get to develop it. We get to invest back into ourselves. You being here today is awesome. That's showing me that you have what it takes to do this. You know how to sacrifice time, time already with your family. You could be doing something else right now. And so the best thing you can do is reinvest back into the source that gave you the ability to create wealth to begin with. So you know how to build a business. Now you're investing back into it so you can become even more profitable and serve more people. Mm-hmm. And so it's this beautiful, chain reaction that we get to be a part of. And that's why we're here. So you can do this, so you can take care of the people in your life on the home front. So you can have an awesome marriage, not just like an okay marriage, but you can work through the things that come up as you change, because you're not the same person that started this business, whether it was a couple of months ago or a few years ago. Mm-hmm. You've already changed, and you are partnered with your spouse for life. So we're going to have to work together. And Geert and I are going to be talking about this and sharing some real things that we've had to work through, some real struggles on how to grow together when you continue to reach new levels and you continue to change and adapt. So we're going to be talking about that, how to handle the growth, how to handle the change, and what to do when, your paycheck starts changing and that creates some kind of tension or distance in your relationship. That's something I don't hear anyone else talking about. And there is for me, this is like a huge red flag. I'm like, why is nobody else talking about this? And I've been looking, you guys, and I'm connected to a lot of really, really great people and networks, and no one is talking about it. And so it's like, okay, well, if there's a space there, if there's a gap, we're going to step in there and we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about money, about ego, about mine versus ours. So it matters what words you use when you refer to the business that you're building. If it's my business and it's my team and it's my sales and it's my commission, it's my money going in my bank account. So what is that doing here to your covenant relationship? What's it doing? Yeah. I'm asking, what does that do? If you're saying, it's mine all the time.
Oh, that's fighting words right there. That's it's like, all right, game on. Raise the bell. Ring the bell. Round one. Let's fight. Let's go.
Round one. Gosh, it's true. So, okay. So we're going to help you to avoid that booby trap, because it's a real way that the enemy sabotages us. And, the house of cards can fall with things like that. So we want to help you avoid that for sure. And lastly, we did touch on this already, but finding a healthy rhythm where you are connected to your purpose and you know what your calling is and you are in 100% alignment with it, with your mission, because business is not an end in itself. Okay. So it's the means to a bigger thing. It's the means to a bigger cause. And so God's given you a calling. He's given you a mandate to change the world in some way, shape, or form. You have value to bring, something unique that no one else can bring or do. And so what's happening here is he's giving you a vehicle for it. But the thing is, and this is what I've seen, is that so easily we get caught up in the mindset thinking that we can only start living out that purpose once we have achieved something, once we have achieved a certain goal or a certain rank in our company, or maybe a certain leadership position. Maybe once we've received a certain income goal, once we've reached that, then we can start walking in fullness of our calling and vision. And so I don't know, you guys, but my kids and I are reading the Bible this summer. It's summer in the Northern Hemisphere. We were just reading a genealogy, and one of them was talking about how Noah was 480 years old. And I was like, okay, I'm not here for that. 480 years, that's just too long. So I can do 100. We're here for 100. So we don't want to wait till we get to 100 to start living in our purpose. Come on. Okay. I don't want to be a 90-year-old granny, trying to get on an airplane and go climb the mountains in the Himalayas because I waited too long. I want to do it now. Right. And so it's that holy ambition to start walking and doing it even before we're ready. Yeah. And so I hear all kinds of things from people, and it's just you have to be so focused and just almost laser focused on the target and what God's calling you to do. And if he's saying do it now, then you do it now, even if you don't feel ready. Because how many of us honestly were ever ready to become a parent? You're never ready. Never. And if you think you're ready, you're really not ready. So it's all this process of transforming and becoming and being on the journey and on a pilgrimage. And so, even in Luke, Jesus tells his disciples to go out and he says, don't take a bag, don't take anything with you, just go. And so I think there's something to that as we get so caught up in needing the knowledge and needing the expertise or feeling like we have to achieve, the weight loss transformation, or we have to, somehow have a certain amount of clients before we have the rapport to be able to deliver something. And that's so not true. We start now, we go with what we have. Moses had a staff in his hand, and that's what God used. He used that to part the Red Sea. And so we don't need certificates. You don't need degrees. You don't have to have lots of zeros in your bank account. You just start now with what you have. And that's what faith is really about.
Come on.
So I don't know. I think that's
awesome.
Good for today. I think we're going to wrap this up. And so thank you so much for being here. I really value your time. I appreciate you. Love you, here to serve. So reach out to me in my message box if there's any questions you have. And tag me on social. Let me know how this training helped you. I'd love to give you a shout out as well, and help you to amplify your impact. That's what we're here to do. Okay, so have an awesome evening or day further, wherever you're at in the world, and I'll see you tomorrow.